You guys remember Firewall Dragon, right? You know, Link 4, Code of the Duelist came out, kind of defined the game for a while, then was revealed to be sort of abusively broken to the point of unplayability, where Konami essentially got spammed on every Facebook and or social media post they made with people crying for Firewall to be banned. I know I stopped playing during that time period. Well, here's some good news. After Firewall was eroded and made useless, we've gotten reveals for Cyberstorm Access, which is the next core set in the OCG after Photon Hypernova, and the cover card is a new Link 6 Firewall Dragon spin-off card, and surely it can't possibly be as broken and degenerate as its predecessor originally was, right? If this is your first time watching or just kind of checking things out here, please hit the like button and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to stay notified for new uploads. And yeah, so we're going to talk about Cyberstorm Access today. I have not actually read these cards prior to this video. Usually I read them. I just basically took the images and put them into the video. So this is a live react that's going to be edited into the whole, presentation. I do think it gives a bit more of a genuine sort of first look at the cards. But Cyberstorm Access comes out early next year in the OCG following up Photon Hypernova. And I will say, from what I hear, some of these cards are pretty good. I'm a little nervous about what the Link 6 Firewall might be. Just because it's a Link 6, which means it's going to be broken, most likely. And it's kind of worrisome to think they might have just taken, like, old Firewall and put it here. But let's actually look at it and see what's going on with this set. So, first off, we've got Firewall Phantom, which is a level 5 Dark Cyberse monster that says, if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberse monster, you can add one Cynet spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Then discard one card. You can banish this card from your graveyard. During the end phase of this turn, shuffle one Cyberse monster from your graveyard into the deck. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So, the first effect is really neat because it combos with a lot of the other Cyberse monsters that allow you to use link material in your hand for summoning. Cards like Microcoder and Code Exporter, I believe is the name. Those cards could combo with this. If this is in your hand, you can link with it and you still get the search. So you can get access to cards like Cynet Mining, Cynet Codec, or plenty of the other Cynet cards, including Cynet Ritual. I do believe there is a new Ritual spell in this reveal of cards as well for Cyberse, which we'll look at shortly. I don't know what the second effect is really meant for, being able to shuffle a Cyberse from grave into deck, but maybe recycling a card is useful. I think this card's biggest asset is the in-hand link ability that combos with some of the other stuff to get you some resources. And of course, being able to search things like Cynet Mining and other cards is going to come in handy. Now, Firewall Defensor is a level 4 Dark Cyberse, and this one has that same effect it looks like. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberse monster, you can special summon one Firewall monster from your deck except Firewall Defensor. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Cyberse monsters. If a Firewall monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This card off the bat seems much better. For one, being able to get a monster from deck for free when you link summon is pretty good because it's resource replacement, but comboed especially well with Firewall Phantom, we now see that there's a way to cheat this out onto the field directly from the deck, get another link out of it, and then also search your Cynet spell so that the combos sort of pay for themselves. And again, this one does trigger in hand as well, which is really neat because, again, that is sort of one of the main components of a lot of the new Cyberse cards, is that functionality being available. Now, locking you into Cyberse is a little bit frustrating, but there are so many Cyberse link monsters, and typically that type as a whole does play mostly Cyberse monsters with a few exceptions, so I don't think that'll be a huge deal. And the built-in protection for a Firewall monster by banishing from grave is really neat. Most of the Firewall link monsters are a bit lackluster, but I'm sure with the combos and sort of the way these go, and maybe the new ones are actually better or more playable, having that built-in protection is never a bad thing. So this one is really solid for me. Definitely stronger than Phantom off the bat, but I do see where they work together in tandem quite well. Now, Cynet Rollback is a quick play spell, which is of course searchable by Phantom, as we've learned. Target one of your banished Cyberse monsters. Special summon it. During your main phase, if you have 2,000 life points or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target two of your banished Cyberse monsters, add them to your hand. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. this is really neat. First of all, a monster reborn for one of your banished Cybers is pretty good. And it's a hard once per turn, understandably so, but this is also searchable, so you have a lot more synergy. And many Cybers monsters either banish themselves to activate effects or banish themselves after using an effect, whether it's like an extender or some of the new ones that we just saw. So being able to get it out and sort of further extend your combos and rank up into higher links is definitely neat. But that second effect is not anything to sneeze at either. Obviously, having 2,000 life points or less is going to be a little bit tougher early game unless you're specifically dedicating space to that. But, you know, the +1 effect to get back your Cybers and late game have the ability to, you know, come back into a game if you were already down is definitely a good option. So I do like this. I think it's probably going to be a strong option as a Cynet card in general. And it is basically for the entire type. So there are plenty of ways to utilize this. It's not amazing or anything, but it's a really good card and a really solid option for the deck with this new support because it is searchable. Cynet Circuit is a normal trap. It says target one Firewall link monster you control. Special summon any number of monsters from your graveyard to either field, so they are linked to it. If you have 2,000 life points or less, you can banish this card from your grave, return one Firewall link monster from your graveyard to the extra deck, then you can special summon it from your extra deck. You can only use each effect of this once per turn. So that second effect, of course, bypasses the summoning restriction because if it wasn't summoned properly, you can't just revive it. So it puts it back and then it summons it out. And, of course, that's with the 2,000 life points or less restriction, so it's got some kind of, you know, drawbacks there where, again, you know, you have certain cards that will have you pay life points or just act as a bit of a comeback card. The first effect is okay. I mean, I definitely see where summoning that many monsters back is good, but it also feels like because you have to control a Firewall link monster, it's not just, like, inherently insane. Not 100% sure how I feel about this one yet. I think I'll give it a bit of time to actually see how it appears in playtesting. I think the other Cynet spell is much better, that being rollback, but this looks like it might be something to keep an eye on, and that second effect is solid. It doesn't feel like the strongest of the reveals to me, though. PROTECTCODE Talker. This is one I noticed the artwork was really cool for. And this is a Link 3, and it says 2+ effect monsters. Your opponent cannot target Link 4 or higher Link monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by battle. If you control a Firewall Link monster, quick effect, you can banish any number of Link monsters from your graveyard whose total ratings equal exactly 3. Special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So it's self-reviving, and it banishes your monsters from the graveyard, so it's got that going for it and makes it easier to ladder up into higher links. But the built-in protection for Link 4 or higher monsters is pretty neat as well. Combos well with cards like Access Code Talker 2, giving it additional protection while being a strong card on its own. And I think because it's a Cybers, it's definitely something to keep an eye on here. This seems pretty good, though. No real specific drawbacks in summoning or anything. It's obviously much better in Cybers decks, but it does give generic protection to any Link 4 or higher, so there's reasons for other decks to look at it, too. Another good addition to the Code Talker lineup. I don't see direct synergy with all of the new cards just yet, but, you know, the Firewall Link monsters, I see where they're trying to get you to play them. It's just that a lot of them are not very good, and obviously post-errata Firewall Dragon himself is a bit lackluster, too. Cyber Sage is a level 1 Ritual Cybers monster that says you can Ritual summon this card using Cynet Ritual. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. During your main phase, you can Fusion summon one Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing materials from your field or grave, including a Cybers monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard as Synchro material, you can target one Cybers monster or Ritual spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So it is a tuner. It does have some pretty cool, you know, design concepts going on. Being able to Fusion summon, of course, works with the... It seems like they're trying to pull the whole Firewall archetype together. There's, you know, Firewall Exceed Dragon, and then there's the Synchro, as well as a Fusion. So I understand sort of giving access to all of those things, trying to maybe combo your whole thing, but that's also super specific, having to play like Fusion, Synchros, Rituals, and Exceeds in a deck that's basically designed to link summon. But it does have a lot going for it. Of course, if you Synchro with it, you get resource recovery, and maybe you can sort of combo this in other ways with, you know, you don't have to Fusion summon a Cybers. You can technically Fusion summon anything. You just have to use a Cybers as material, which does obviously open the door a little bit more than, say, if it had to be a Cybers Fusion monster. It's not bad. I think I'm going to reserve judgment on this one a little bit more. On the surface, I can see it being a good combo piece, though, especially because Cynet Ritual is searchable, and there are ways to get this out easily. Now, Cybers Disabworm is a fusion monster that is relatively generic, which obviously is designed now to combo with this new Ritual monster. It is a level 6 Dark Cybers fusion that needs one Cybers Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster, and one Cybers monster. So pretty generic materials, pretty easy to do with the Ritual monster that we just talked about. During your main phase, you can special summon one Cybers monster from your hand. Then you can make this card's level become that monster's level. When your opponent activates a spell, trap, or effect while you control a link 4 or higher Cybers monster, quick effect. You can banish this card from your field or grave, negate the activation. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So, this feels like a home run. This is really, really solid for multiple reasons. It's an extender that's very easy to summon and super generic by the context of, Cybers. Basically, if you're playing 2 Cybers monsters, you can make this for the most part with the new Ritual monster. And that, linking away to ladder up and then end your turn with a negate engrave, if you have, Firewall or one of the Firewall big link monsters on the field, is definitely really strong. Heck, you could have Access Code Talker out on the field and use this to negate. So that's really powerful because it's more combo extension after you get stuff off the field and gives you the ability to respond to stuff and just kind of gives you another response during the opponent's turn. So I do like this one. There are many ways to utilize this. You could send it to the graveyard with something like Ultimate Slayer or, Nadir Servant, although I don't think Nadir Servant's really going to have any synergy with Cybers. But in general, there's a lot of ways to get this engrave, at which point you can then utilize the effect still. So I do like this. It's a multifaceted sort of tool option for Cybers and very easy to summon. I think this one's pretty good. And maybe if Cybers ever becomes, the meta-defining threat, it's even a potential super poly target depending on what you are playing against. So this one I like. All right, so here's the big guy, Firewall Dragon Singularity. So it's a Link 6, and it has a really unique set of link arrows because you can V-Link with it, basically the extra link in the shape of a V if you have monsters in each, zone. You could take up all the extra monster zones, which, in this master rule doesn't really matter nearly as much as it would have before, but still worth noting. So this is a Link 6 Cybers that needs 3+ effect monsters, and it says, quick effect. You can target cards your opponent controls and or cards in their graveyard up to the number of different types of monsters, that being Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz, you control or in your graveyard. Return them to the hand, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card returned. If a monster or monsters this card points to is destroyed by battle is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Cybers monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use this effect once per turn. This card, right off the bat, first of all, has some cool artwork. Just want to shout that out. Feels like a big letdown, and honestly, I don't understand why they made it so that you could only target cards the opponent controls or in their graveyard, because it basically lacks what Firewall had of being able to recur your own cards. One of the biggest things about this is it's a Link 6, so you are investing a lot of effort into getting it out, and as a result, you're not really getting a crazy amount of rewards for it. I mean, it is a hard once per turn. Being able to bounce the opponent's stuff is great, and obviously with a lot of the new cards we saw, it's not hard to get Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Grave, kind of do a full combo, set it up, and then have this on the board, but it's basically just a disruption you can use once, and there are other links, I think, that kind of do it better. I see where you could combo this with some of the new stuff to give it protection and have the negate engrave, but overall, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little bit underwhelmed by this. I don't know if there's something I'm missing, and maybe people will have some broken combos with it. I do suppose the extra link potential is neat, and being able to have some co-link stuff is gonna be cool, but I just think for a Link 6, especially a card like this that's kind of, hyped as a big, main set retrain of a, an ace monster, it just doesn't feel to me like it's meeting the expectation where it's going to be super viable in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are seeing stuff on this that I'm not, and if so, I definitely want to hear about it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Overall, it's a pretty interesting reveal with some really neat cards, especially for Cybers. I do think that the Firewall Firewall Defensor is definitely going to be one of the more noteworthy cards from this, as well as a couple of the spells and the extra deck monsters. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Are you excited for this set? Obviously, there's still more we could get, so this is just early reveals. But it's cool to see that they are giving some more Vrain support. And yeah, people are either going to like it or hate it. But the artwork is cool. There's some potential there. I just feel a little bit let down. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.